Greetings! Have you guys missed me yet? I'm certain that you have. Chris Clark here, Word is Bond. You know how this thing goes. Thank you guys for tuning in the last couple of weeks. Continue on. Through a few decent viewpoints and a little bit of input from beautiful people like y'all, I'm going to shorten down a couple of my segments so I can expand on things. But before all of that, I really have to ask you guys, how was you guys' week? That's more important than anything we have to talk about today. Did y'all make it happen? Knock it out like we always do? Stand up in the mirror, take a second to look at you and yourself. Maybe slap yourself around a little bit. Finally realizing that you yourself are the world you're fearing, and then overcome that. That's what the show is about. Okay, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of reality. Okay, so and anyways, get past the motivational stuff. I know I did that earlier in the week, and I'll try to continue doing that. Okay, it's part of the staple of the show. But before we get into our first segment, I have to mention this past week, and I have to just admit, I personally wore blackface. I did, and it was awesome. I had Julia, my producer, slash lifelong confidant, giving me an awesome charcoal face mask. And my goodness, it was incredible. Okay, might be culturally wrong right now, considering the day and age we live in. But my God, my skin has never felt so great. It was very significant and entertaining nonetheless. But my gosh, the pores, guys. You guys have to get into skincare products if you have not done this. Sorry, this is a side note. I just can't get over it. My skin has never felt so good. Also, she did a nice haircut on me, trimmed the beard up, looking 100% pristine. But we got to talk about a few things today, guys. So I'll get past my girlfriend and my love for her, and her love for me. So let's go ahead and get right into the first segment. All right. Guys, sorry, had to switch positions. Julia, the girlfriend, the love of my life, is in there making a cake for a good friend of ours, old B. Rye McFly, going to a little birthday party tomorrow, so I needed to move shop. Anywho, let's get right down to it. Except the time constraint here, fellas. So, like I said earlier, I was asked by a few people to expand on talking points, and since this is my show, I can do what I want, and I should, if I feel up to it, fulfill my audience's expectations and requests. So, if you guys recall, last week we talked about quote unquote the Great Divide and the racial narrative that mainstream media tries to subject us to. But not you, because you're a free thinker, right? I know that for a fact, my friends. Unfortunately, I think you guys have heard about this story. There was another police shooting. And when I say unfortunate, I'm only saying that for the baby ears out there. Micaiah Bryant was gunned down in Ohio by a police officer after a brawl ensued where she was caught on body cam wielding a knife, trying to stab someone at this gathering. The officer shooting her, I think, about 4 times, and she would later die at the hospital. I mean, it's a terrible story, and no one likes to hear these types of things. But stories like this are absolutely culturally significant. Okay? So I was scrolling through YouTube, like I do a lot of days, and I found an interesting video titled, quote-unquote, Makia Brown's TikTok videos show she was just a kid. And this was something by the New York Post, I suppose. Which we all know how they do. I mean, but getting back to the point at hand, say that Ma'Khia Brown, is just a kid. Of course. I mean, well, yes. I don't think any of us are denying her age, especially considering that she's using TikTok. So I think that she's probably around 15 or 16 years old, right? I mean, we've all heard that she's a 16-year-old foster kid who had some issues, okay, like most teens do. But let me ask you this. Is her being a 16-year-old foster kid going to take away from the fact that she lunged at another girl, with the kitchen knife with all intent to kill her? Her being a quote-unquote kid, as the New York Post likes to say, has absolutely nothing to do with the attempted murder. She was luckily stopped by, you know, this police officer who showed up at the right time in the right place. She's not a protagonist in the story at all. A big point at hand here is stop glorifying these people and making them into some sort of martyr. George Floyd was a drug addict, burglar, right? Not a hero, and not someone to tear down and rebuild structure in the name of he, and definitely not someone to let your daughter date, correct? But mainstream media has portrayed him to be as such, and I guarantee you that not a single one of them believe or agree with the goddamn word that they're spewing in your face. And if they do, they're just as insane as the story is. So let's take this Dante Wright case that we talked about last week that everybody's been talking about. And how Al Sharpton, and I will never, ever, ever, ever call him by his quote-unquote title of quote-unquote reverend, because as far as I'm concerned, this quote-unquote man is the exact opposite of a quote-unquote reverend. He's simply a racist, narcissistic, race-baiting devil who jumps at any and every quick opportunity to make a buck by gaslighting racial division. And it's never necessary. Everything he says is just contrived. It's the same thing he says at each and every one of these things that he gets paid to do. It's unbelievable. It's not really unbelievable, to be honest with you, which is unfortunate. It should be unbelievable. But it's not. It's just a side note. He just gets on my nerves like no other. But during his interview, Al Sharpton, that is, on MSNBC, he was writing back from the Dante Wright funeral, and nothing but photos of Dante Wright holding babies covered the screen. He's this incredible uncle or whoever he is to these babies, and the network just fortifying the facade that he was some sort of long-loved protagonist. And of course, like we talked about last week, I mean, he was accidentally, unfortunately, probably, maybe unnecessarily shot by cops by negligence. But let's not pretend he was some sort of saint. He tussled with police, had an open warrant for possession of a firearm, and lo and behold, here comes Al Sharpton and the media painting him some sort of light that he's this light that is truly unjust. I mean, to be some sort of sage and soothsayer, Al Sharpton, that is. I mean, a handsomely paid sage and soothsayer. Just like Sheila Jackson Lee, or maybe a Maxine Waters or Quanell X, if you live in Houston. And you hear these people on the television screen just spewing their racial divide. I mean, these people profit from the grief and desperation of their fellow black communities. They stand on it. I mean, do you see any of them pop up when there isn't a tragedy to profit from, or a situation where they can incite violence? They don't care about you or your community's camaraderie at all. At all. Your grief and despair is their next paycheck. It's right there for you to see. These people, the media race baiters, cannot live without your turmoil. They can't live without pushing biased angst and tabloidic stories into your face until you can't breathe. And like the show has stated, I wanted to expand on this topic from last week because it's very important. It's a very important point to make, to not take things at face value. In any situation, do your own research. Think for yourself. I will continue to drive that into y'all's heads until you really get it. Don't let the televised presence of an Al Sharpton, you know, sway your thinking towards a racial narrative and take away from the facts that are easily accessible. Like I always say, go on there and do the clickety click for your own self. Don't let them tell you what to believe. Okay? Don't take the easy route. These people are spin doctors. And I know my audience is much smarter than that. I have complete trust in every one of y'all. Have your own opinions, of course. But, look and consider facts. That's all I'm trying to say to y'all. Keep your mind open. And I understand it's hard concept here and there, and it's especially hard if you're as hard-headed as I am. But this is growth and maturity, brothers and sisters. Now, the last segment's going to be a little more fun. Let's move on to it. Get away from politics. Okay, so, devoted listeners, I kind of came to this conclusion, okay? I'm starting to believe that I'm either maybe a Dr. Doolittle or some sort of reincarnated Ace Ventura, okay? Let me digress. I live in Conroe, okay? Our house backs up to the woods with plenty of, wildlife to be seen. Julie and I, beautiful girlfriend, love watching birds. We got bird feeders and stuff out there. But that's as far as I'll go, pretty much, when it comes to wild animals. I absolutely cannot deal with reptiles, any amphibious creature. I don't do snakes. I don't do frogs, lizards. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't. I haven't since I was a kid. I just can't do it. They scare me. And it's weird. Call me whatever you want, but I just can't do it. So my cat Slim, the other day, brought in a skink. And thank the ever-loving God Almighty that I wasn't home to see it spread out across my beautiful hardwood floor. Otherwise, I probably would have passed out immediately. I mean that. I can't handle it. I don't know what it is. Some people don't like spiders. Some people like snakes. I'm the snake guy. I do not like snakes. I can handle a spider, but you put a lizard on my face, I'm crying. Don't use this against me, by the way, in the future. Anywho, this is a long route of saying, possums and foxes have invaded my homestead, and I'm scared. I don't do wild animals. Have you ever heard a female fox in heat? Have you? Have you ever heard a fox's call at all? It's terrifying. Terrifying. I implore you to check it out. Clickety-click on YouTube after you get done with this show and just hear the blood-curdling scream these creatures make. Enjoy it when you're sleeping, popping up quicker than a crack addict who hadn't smoked. Okay? I'm telling you, please go and check it out after this. Because it's eerie, it's scary. Especially when it's right outside of your door. Or your window, for that matter, at night at 4 a.m. Oh my god, dude. And I just see that, I think it's just one fox that's around here right now, but there's got to be more. They're calling out to each other. Not to mention the possums. These things terrorize our homes with their cuteness. And I can't stand it. I mean, they're so damn cute, but I kind of want to just, kick their ass. I can't. Mainly because Julia started to name the damn creatures. I think we all know where that leads. I will most certainly, by the end of the year, have at least one, if not 14, possums living in my home. Therefore, I'm giving up on animals completely. The animals of our species, as well as the others who invade and terrorize our homes with their cuteness. And unfortunately, that's going to have to do it for us today. Don't cry, because you'll make me do the same. And I'm an ugly crier. Very ugly. Y'all take it easy. See you next week.